Before we start, let us know if you can hear and see. All good, very good. Look at that, we got a like already, we haven't even started. That's optimism. Hope, maybe it's hope. Maybe a little bit of both. We'll see if we can deliver on that like. Let's just take a moment and be here together for Satsang. Let's just go up the chakras quickly. You can hold this, you can just have your hand in the area, or you can hold the activation, but we're just going to go quickly at the Muladhara. Om Hu, Om Huva, Om Swaha, Om Maha, Om Jana, Om Tapa, Om Satyam, Om Tat Saviturvarenyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi Dhiyo Yo Na Prachodayat. Om. And we'll hold a couple different mudra. So take your hand in prayer, put the fingers out, and then just curl the fingers in, thumbs on top. And then you can say Om at least one time, say more if you want, with the intention that it goes, kind of activates, it goes through this mudra each time. Om. Then hands out. Om. And kind of space between. And then you take your, we'll do Om at this one first, so Om. Put the thumbs down, point to the center. Om. Put the hands towards the heart. Om. Put the hands out. Om. The hands in front of the heart, it's a bowl, with the intention to attract light. Om. And again, you can curl the hands, fingers in. Om. And then hands in front of the heart. Om. Offsetting the fingers a little bit. Om. And again, curling the fingers in. Om. Right on top. Om. Left on top. Om. And then knuckles facing each other. Om. Om Tat Saviturvarenyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi Dhiyo Yo Na Prachodayat. Om. And just hold Gyan Mudra for a few moments. Take some deep breaths. Balance the vayus. Again, do a gentle spinal twist over one shoulder, breathing. Just take 3 breaths. Back to center, other side. 3 breaths. Back to center. Sitting straight, take 3 breaths. just take the arms, put them out in front, rotate the wrists, just to activate those meridians. Other direction. You can do it however you want. And hands open, spinning the hands. Go one way, go the other way. Okay, and then interlock your fingers, just out, roll the shoulders. And relax, and then just any type of just bending, just getting that spine to bend. So you want it to like lean and bend forward, to the sides, back. The shoulders. And then the hands, just wide open, and then squeeze. First we're going to just do hard squeezing, so open as much as you can, squeeze as much as you can, open as much as you can, squeeze, open as much as you can, squeeze. One more time. And then just the head and neck, so roll, lean. The idea is to kind of properly magnetize the spine. Balance. Magnetize the spine. Get it to work properly. As Swamiji says, that the spine is like the pillar of the system, and if taken care of wisely, then it actually can produce healthful chemicals instead of poisonous ones. So we're just reanimating, re-energizing, remagnetizing the spine, the energetic field, the brain, the prana. So this is a very light thing. I'm feeling more compelled to do these during things because we haven't done yoga in a while. So like we have to. So it's been like a few weeks now or something since we did like a group yoga. So let's start. This is just kind of a warm-up preparatory, kind of getting your house clean so we can invite or invoke the divine. Yeah, it's your face. Let me get the petals off, it looks so pretty. We'll take this little guy. So we're taking these leaves, these 3 leaves that are connected, symbol of Om, symbol of Brahma, Vishnu, and Mahesh. So we're offering this on behalf of all of you to Swamiji, bringing that energy into our lives, into our practice tonight. Do you want to offer it too? And on behalf of everyone, these will be connected to all of our devotion, the highest form of Bhakti.
Guru Brahma, Guru Vishnu, Guru
mind, your emotions, your heart, your field, your breath, your eyes. May you see the truth, may you smell the truth, taste the truth, speak the truth. May you hear the truth, may you think the truth. May you act or express truthfully. May you live your life according to the truth. And may this satsang course be attuned and aligned with the truth. Ask Ganesh to help us with that. And Hanuman, who's representing spirit. Did
you get it?
No, it's okay. So we're asking Swamiji to help us to develop in devotion to the highest goal, to the highest truth. It is not different from the nature of our true self, and not different than the nature of the Sadguru. I am Atma Brahman. May we realize the truth that we are all the same. Consciousness interfacing with itself through these ostensibly separate, seemingly so, separate bodies. May we see how they are not actually separate in the way that we think, that one being is manifesting and moving them all. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. I'm going to read a little bit from Swamiji's book, Practical Wisdom. Before I get to the chapter that I'm going to read, there's one part here, which is the next chapter, Power of Mind. And this is the reason for doing something as sadhana. So a lot of people sometimes think that we can just sit and like the path will be done. It actually doesn't work like that. How well you can coordinate the attention or energy, the flow of the mind is really what's required. So just to sit and do nothing, you might hope it's doing nothing, but you're actually still doing something. You're just, letting the mind kind of lazily move about. And so it's still manifesting things, it's just not conducive to meditation, it's more conducive to sleepiness. So the mind needs something to do because it's always doing something. And your entire path will be through the mind. All the different paths are just the different channels of mind. So, I'm reading this, just one part here. It is a fact that the mind is always active in some form or another. The mind is always wandering. The senses cannot be still. Mind is like the wind. It travels faster than light. The two Sanskrit terms, sankalpa, which is the forming of an idea, making a mental plan, which we set sankalpas all the time, setting your intention, and vikalpa, which is the manifestation of that plan, putting it into action. They're like waves of an ocean merging. Thoughts, ideas, desires, wishes are constantly being created. So, the importance of doing any type of sadhana is that you are taking your mind, your ability to focus, and you're putting on something that is productive. I don't mean, necessarily job or something like that, but spiritual work. We're being productive in a different way. It may create no external fruits or manifestations. But we're trying to create inner manifestation, inner growth, inner development. So exterior-wise, it may not be seemingly helping anyone or anything. Internally, it will be helping you, kind of return back to your inmost essence, your ultimate self, which I don't like to use the word inmost because I don't see that as the truth. It's just, inmost is like first step of talking about the self. Because when you think of inmost, it's kind of opposite to outer, and then you just have another duality that you're putzing around in. So first you thought God was out there, not in here. Now you're looking for God inner and not out there. So you're on the other side of the duality. But it's helpful for the sense of not getting distracted by the senses and then letting yourself go back in to find God dwelling within your own heart. So we give the mind, because it will, as it says here, will always be active in some form or another. Then we need to give the mind something to do. So when we chant, when we offer flowers, rice, water, we offer visualization, we offer our breath, as we do pranayam, we're offering kirtan. Everything that we are doing is to be our way of trying to give our mind and our heart something to focus on that's uplifting, it's kind of focusable energy. So we're able to get that concerted effort towards one thing. If it's not going towards the same source, then it's on a ton of other random things. It's on, taxes, it's on coronavirus, it's on, your day, it's on, your friends, it's on family, it's on tons of things, and it just kind of bounces around. Your mind is like a checklist. So what about this? What about this? Oh, what about this? Oh, what about this? What about this? Oh, what about this? What about this? It'll just keep doing this. So we have to give it something constructive to do. So developmental, inwardly, if you want to use that as a term, inwardly developmental. This is important because if you're not developing, then you are stagnant. So you don't just develop because you're living your life. You have to have a particular type of a mindset. You have to have a heart's wish, a deep desire to know the truth, to look for God. You do have to actually have a desire for spiritual growth to get most spiritual growth. It is possible that you can just be hooked into doing the right thing and you don't think much about principle and higher philosophy, and you can be led there. But mostly for us in this era, in this yuga, we have to constantly try to remember, think, actively engage in remembering that everything, God is in everything. I was going to say God is everything, but most people have a harder time with that one. So I was just, knocking it down a level to God is in everything. Because then you don't have to agree that the things are God. Then you can just say, well, God's in the thing, but I don't have to like the form. If you want to realize Brahman, you do have to see God as the form too. But if you want to realize, the formless awareness that's penetrating or pervading through all the forms, and not have to identify with the forms being a part of God, then you get to have an easier meditation. It's not full development, but it's an easier way to contemplate. It's like the space that holds all these forms. You don't have to agree with the forms, you just have to agree with there's a space that holds all the forms. And so that's an easier path for most people, because you don't have to fight your combatant mind that wants to deny God being everywhere. That's basically what happens when you tell your mind that God is not just in the pencil, it is the pencil. God is not just in the tree, it is the tree. God is not just in the squirrel that you may or may not like, it's in the squirrel and it is the squirrel. It's a harder thing to grasp. Our minds have way too many biases and judgments. So when you have a desire to truly know this hidden presence in all things, then that is your devotion. And all you really need to know for, devotion, for development of bhakti, is having this extreme love and trust that everything it will do will be good for you. You don't really need to know much else. You don't have to have a lot of meditation, but Does that mean you can just love God and just trust everything's going to be okay? If you can do it, that means you're not supposed to be susceptible to faith issues, which, I mean, point to somebody who's not susceptible to faith issues. So you have to also apply the thinking about God and how wonderful God is and how God wants to save you and is always there holding you, supporting you, even through your good times and your rough times. You're always being supported by the same grace. So having that degree of trust allows you to go through life, no matter what happens. You feel like you're taken care of. Whether you live or die, you feel like this is my path. Thank you for this, God. It's very easy. You just say, I know this is the way I'm supposed to go. It doesn't mean that you're lazy or complacent. You try to do your best to work with the forms that are arising around you in the best way possible. But you're suspending reactivity and instead just choosing to be lovingly, divinely participatory. Non-reactive, but lovingly, supportively participatory for the whole divine aim and whatever that you're a part of. So the mind is something that has to be focused. It's like a light that has like a lens on the front where you can focus the light. So it could just go everywhere, and it could just bounce around, or it could be very, honed in and refined. If you have a refined mind, you're very focused. You control the focus. It doesn't just run around, and you're just a victim to the mind and the current. You're choosing consciously to focus the mind. So we all have this power within ourselves. If you didn't, no yogis or saints would ever talk about, the benefit of the mind. They would just say, tough luck, I'm sorry, you're never going to make it, But instead they say, your mind is always moving from one form to another. It must focus on something. So then your task, your sadhana, is what will you make it focus on? That's sadhana. And sadhana is uplifted things. So how are you going to, what will you be, and how are you going to be making the mind focus on higher things? Sadhana. So that's what we have as a responsibility. Same with the heart. You have to constantly be in a state of love. For most people, I would say the idea of constant love is like a nice concept, but it's probably not looked at as realistic. To be in a constant state of love, that would be like where your inner being is just like massaged by that grace. It'll feel like you're always submerged in that Guru Kripa, just lost in that beauty and that kind of vibration of love, and it's just everywhere, and it's in and it's out, and it's just a dance of that lovingness that's going everywhere. For most people, they don't feel that, and so the idea of devotion for them is like loving God and not really liking the world, which, if, like I've said many times, if you don't like the art, you don't like the artist, typically. Because you feel like the artist creates what's a part of themselves. So if you don't like the art, if you find something always off-putting, you don't care to seek the artist out. Have you ever looked at art at an exhibit or in a store and said, geez, this is horrible. Well, I'd really like to go meet the artist. So how to develop that love and devotion is, you have to create a love affair with the art, in a way. Because it's the only way you're going to want to know the artist. You need to love the creation, because that's the only way you're going to want to know the creator. If you hate the creation and you just have issues with it, there's probably no way you're going to find the creator. So you have to kind of, again, focus the mind in a way to appreciate what God has created and given to you, and not given to you, because that's a giving too. To have something given to you or something not given to you is both a giving from God. Maybe you're a soul that should not have something, so you're not given it. That's your boon. You think that's your curse, but that's actually your boon. And maybe you think you shouldn't have something, but you're given it. And you're like, why is this in my life like this? That's your boon. You think it's a curse, but that's your boon. So if you can change your perception and see that no matter what happens, God is, applying that lovingness to you, just loving you constantly in some relational kind of way of looking at it, then you no longer think you're kind of getting the short end of the stick. You always think you're benefiting. And if you're always benefiting, you're always happy. Because imagine in real life, if you got what you believe in your mind would be benefiting, which for most people it's a better job, it's more money, it's friends, everyone likes them, the stereotypical kind of ideas of what makes happiness in the normal material world, the non-spiritual world. So we would want those things because we think that's going to make us happy. But if God has another plan for you, which is to starve you from half of those things, then you get some of the things. Maybe it's to starve you from 90% of those things. Because if you do that, you'll go the wrong way. And God wants to take you this way, which is much higher and much more developed. But first, you kind of got to go down a little bit and get strange and get a little crazy. And you're going to have to reorient who you are and what your life is about. And then once you break through to a different part of your being, you'll say, oh, now I see why that was my path. That was chosen for me. This doesn't mean, again, you're complacent, lazy, and waiting for God to guide you. You have to actively try and figure things out. But what you'll find is if it's not for you, the doors will be shut. And it doesn't mean keep trying, but it doesn't mean give up in some cases. You don't want to keep trying for something if you're not going to get it. Not that anyone wants to be president of the United States nowadays, probably. But, if that was a goal and it wasn't going to happen in your lifetime, doesn't it sound smarter just to let it go and focus on something that will help you? Rather than having some goal like that, just dropping things and learning how to focus on something that's good for you, sadhana. Learning how to focus on something that's higher, elevated, good, positive, and loving. And when you develop that relationship with focusing in that higher way, you feel the love, you feel graced, you feel protected, you feel taken care of. Then you can't complain because all you feel is that you're being taken care of. When you're on that level, then you feel the devotion. Because now there's no way to complain. You love the creation no matter what comes to you, and therefore you're always in a good relationship with the Creator. Haven't you noticed with somebody also, you might have a good relationship with them, and then you don't really have an issue. You might have one little issue, it's not really an issue, but pretty much you just like the person overall. And then you just decide with a friend to talk about something negatively about that person. It's not a big deal, but you chose to go there. And your vibration that was 90% uplifted about that person is now 90% down in the dumps. And it might take weeks or years to recover, depending on whether or not you actively do something to correct that. It's considered a aberration of mind, or also a mood disorder thing. That we would actively put ourselves in a lower place. You can always make a negative comment about any aspect of life, but the end result of that is you feel negative. If you get somebody feeling sympathy for you about you talking about negativity, you get negativity and you get a sympathy, and that'll be like your false positive. So you'll feel maybe boosted after that. Talking to heal or get through it or vent to fix is one thing. Talking about something just to talk about it because it annoys you is a whole other problem. So the venting and as a way to really assess your mind and see how you can change yourself and get over it and develop sympathy and compassion and love is the good way. And just complaining to complain or to be negative about something you don't like is the bad way. It doesn't help you. So our minds are always focusing, and so we need to focus it on something. When you focus it on just the essence, the idea that God is always protecting you, taking care of you, guiding you, and leading you to what is good. Shiva, the consciousness of infinite goodness. If you're being led only in that direction, that's all that's possible for you. Yes, the things that manifest might not look like that, But when you trust that I know it's for my best good, for my highest good, for my best interest, when you know it's for that, then you have no problems. Everything feels great. Externally, you may have problems arise, but in your heart, all you have is love for God. So it's like that example with the person. If you only have love for a person, you choose not to let the mind go into a negative spot, the love remains. As soon as you choose to go into a negative spot, the love is no longer there. It's like it just erases in a way. So with God, the same. If you feel one day God's great, everything's beautiful, you're always supported and protected, wonderful. If the next day you feel irritated about something not going right in your life and you say, what's wrong with, why won't God help me? And then you get negative about it and you start kind of feeling God's got some issue with you or something. Then you just took that relationship and sunk it. It's not benefiting you anymore. Your faith is gone. Your connection is gone. The higher platform upon which you had a devotional relationship has now been sacrificed just to dive into the realm of negativity. So we do this a lot. This is a normal thing that we do with God. One day we're like, I love it. I love the path. I love the divine. Let's worship. Let's connect. Let's chant some mantra and some, invoke some deities. And, 2-3 days later, you're feeling kind of less than optimal, to put it nicely. And you could care less about the path. And your aim is off. Now the idea of evolving is like, I don't care, I just don't want to feel pain right now. Your idea of the greater goal is gone. Now you're just irritated. So that's a type of mental and emotional management that you have to get on top of if you really want to evolve and evolve quickly. So if you have to be on a track that's going up and you keep on knocking yourself off and you're no longer going up, once you knock yourself off that track, now you're going down, then you just yo-yo your whole life. So if you feel like your path is like a yo-yo, you may need to analyze this part and you need to gain a few things. Constant focus on the higher developmental process and on all your joys and love for this divine process and path unfolding for you and how you can connect. And you need emotional stability. Those are two things that you need in order to make it through. If you don't have that, you'll more than likely feel like you have an unpredictable yo-yo path. It's just up and down, up and down, up and down, up and down, and you don't know what to do about it. So emotional stability is like learning how to get deep and wide and hold all that's happening and not be bothered by it. If you're smaller than it, you'll feel like you're being knocked down like waves from an ocean just throwing you around. So you do need to watch that aspect. So going into that, aspects of love. Many people feel discouraged from sincerely following the spiritual path because of perceived and actual difficulties they might encounter in today's rather difficult world. And it is true. The more spiritual you become, the more subtle and complex difficulties and hardships you may experience in these circumstances. Most people have the idea that a spiritual life makes everything easy. But technically, having a spiritual life just gives you insight to deal with more complicated situations. And that might mean more complicated situations come to you so that you can deal with it. Because if you're in a better space to deal with a more complicated situation, it means now you're more evolved, right? An unevolved person can't handle a complicated situation. An evolved person can handle a complicated situation. So if you're evolved enough to handle the most complex situations, they just come to you. And when you deal with them well, then you evolve even further. If you don't deal with them well, you kind of reboot a little bit, go back a few grades, try that one over again, excel, and then move beyond. Sometimes we do advance in our schooling, our life schooling, a couple grades, and we find that it's too complicated and we go back a couple grades to work it out before we can really earn being where we just were. As the idea would be where you have a higher state of consciousness but you don't maintain it. That means you're emotionally unstable and you don't actually know what you saw, which means that your experience was not exactly true. It means that you hold some delusion about what you're going through, or it would remain. If you really had gyan, if you really had wisdom, you wouldn't lose it. And you'd be it. If you are it, you don't lose it because you don't lose yourself. If you are having an experience of something higher but it goes away, it means you're not quite there. And that means it's a mental problem and an emotional problem. You're emotionally not stable enough, and mentally you're not focused enough on the highest. You're too wobbly. So it's good to know that, because it's like, okay, that's all I got to do. I need to get a little bit more sincere, a little more dedicated, and a little bit more stable, or maybe a lot more stable, but whatever. We have to get more of the energy in one solid concerted effort. There's a traditional approach that originates from India in which spiritual knowledge and development can be simplified and very much enjoyed. It is called Bhakti, love, devotion to the highest. The Sanskrit term Bhakti means love and devotion, and is also the path of devotion itself. It is very rare indeed. In this connection, therefore, I am not talking about normal human love that is so often easily embraced and discarded in daily life. Instead, I am referring to a purified love, a pure love that is without condition, without conditioning. So that would mean that if you love God, you don't care how God treats you, let's say. So if you have some idea of how God should manifest your life, and if it doesn't, then you're just, angry at God and you just don't want to do the path anymore. You're very much not in a devotional state. You're in a normal human consciousness state that is heavily conditioned, and if God doesn't serve you according to your terms that you're laying out for God, if you don't get served on your terms, you're angry at God and you back away. Doesn't sound very devotional, right? So devotion is not some easy thing. You have to have absolute faith, total trust. If you don't have it, then you are a devotee in training, which is kind of 99.9 repeating percent of Earth. So don't worry about it. We're all struggling. This love does not ask for anything, it does not demand, it does not expect or judge. Normal human love is not like that. You love someone because that implies a condition. For instance, I love how you look, I love your personality, what if their personality changes? Do you love them still? If you love them according to how they look, do you still love them if they age and are different looking at the end? So you have to see how deep and pure your love is. And what you'll find is that all levels of the human love are broken in some way. And they're broken by the condition you have placed upon it, which is a condition meaning I will love you only if. So I will love God only if, I will love my spouse only if, I will love my dog only if, I will love my house only if, I will love the city that I live in only if, I will love things only if they are how I want them to be. And if not, then I hate them, or I don't like them, or I wish they were different, or I can't stand them. So you have to be very careful about what your mind is doing. That's why I read the mind part first, because this is very connected. A lot of times people think, I'll just love God, and that's all I'm going to do, that's my path. Well, see if you can. That's why I'm talking about it this way, because you might find that you can't love God with all your heart. You're trying to do that. Why you can't is because your mind doesn't let you. Because you have too many conditions, and your heart is too sour when you don't get what you want. You're reactive, you're pained, you're frustrated. And that's why we have to do sadhana. It's a practice. Your practice means repetitively trying to land back, attune and get to a higher place of our own being, so that we etch these lower impressions, these sanskars, these impressions that are like gravity pulling us down. We're trying to etch them out. Bhakti can be demonstrated in many traditional examples. For instance, the 15th century mystic poet Mirabai, which Swamiji has spoken of many times, presents an example of unconditional love for Krishna. And that unqualified, unselfish love, coupled with intensity of mind, led to her eventual enlightenment. In life, essentially every creature is looking for comfort and finding it in a variety of situations and conditions. I've often spoke on the different styles of love throughout the world and considered how the term love has evolved. I will give some of the key aspects of growth here. Or not, because this is a long thing. Let me skip that part maybe. I'll skip it down to here. Evidently, therefore, an explanation of love is a very complex issue, since you are not dealing with human emotions. Since you are dealing with human emotions. You cannot see the thoughts and emotions of the real person. When someone tells you, I love you, it may not be true. This is a common thing, People have moods. So one day when they're high, they love you. The next day they're feeling crappy. They might not love you. They might not hate you, but they don't really like you too much. And if they were to think about it, it's not that they would say that, but they definitely aren't up here with you. Now they're down here, or God forbid down here, or further. So this is the instability of a human being, which is not the devotee. Devotee is not like that. After all, people very often act and perform rather than showing their true selves. That is something learned from childhood. Moreover, the concept of love can be too complex, too undefined. You can just about feel that there is something out there, out of reach of the human being. It is like a play of hide and seek, which you can sense. It is a combination of pain and pleasure. It appears to be just within your reach. But as you try to grasp it, it slips away. So I'm going to skip the rest just because it's a larger topic. But that's how we're trying to mold ourselves into being a true devotee. To be like a true bhakta, like you can't just say it. You got to perform it. You got to be it. You got to do it. And it is all of those things. You have to think a certain way. You have to uphold life a certain way. If you really love God, then all of this creation, all you can think of is, God, how amazing are you to create something this phenomenal, to create this play, to create all of this stuff, to create a bell, to create a candle, to create a dog, to create the carpet, to create the space and the sky and the trees and the moon and the star and to create love, to create marriage, to create divorce, to create death, to create birth. It's just a magnificently complicated thing that's just always happening, like it's no big deal. Like that's how much, the divine just has it in control. The lila is just constantly manifesting in ways you do not understand. So you may not want to see the divine there because you might have opinions or judgments about how it's not acceptable. But you have to see from many angles in order to really understand why life is like that, however it may be that you don't get or understand. So anyway, we're going to move into the kirtan just so we can kind of sink into that. But that's the idea with just this aspect of devotion. You really have to sincerely look at, if you can't perform the highest devotion, don't get sad about it. No one can. So you just have to see, if you can't do the highest devotion, you have to look at, how do I fix this? So you need constant mental attunement and just washing it on the divine feet. Just constantly just visualizing the highest divine essence and reality, letting the love just flow to that, creating such a deep love and flow that, towards that your heart is washed clean. If you love something of a lower nature, you get more toxic. The heart starts to condense and drag and get kind of corrupted. If you love something of a higher nature, it all purifies and becomes, aligned with the divine nature. So it's easy. So primarily, there's a lot of stories that will talk about how great God is, and the reason why it's like that is because it makes your heart believe that you're fine. You're all protected. Everything's okay. So whether it's about guru, it's about a deity, it's about the impersonal, formless divine, or it's about the divine within, or the divine in a tree, or the divine in the elements or nature. There's this idea that's being conveyed to the mind, which is out of the box of the mind, but using the information inside of the box of the mind to appeal to the mechanisms of the heart, just to open the floodgates in love. That's why the messages and the stories and the kirtan and the bhajans and all of this is there. to give you something to focus on.
Radhe Radhe Govinda Govinda
all feel Swamiji's grace, presence, energy, Shakti, his consciousness with you through the remainder of the night. With you, protecting you, guiding you throughout the week. May you be blessed with the ultimate Bhakti, pure love and devotion, pure wisdom and Gyan. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Hari Om.